Captain's Log, subdate 200831.1. The Gungan refugees decided to go live in the crater Aurelia. The Sith have also departed, with Sithis seeming oddly happy about something, but never alluded to what. That motherfucker stole my pod. It's okay. It only has half a tank of gas. And we decided to lock the coordinates. He'll be entering the Simp Sea very soon. I hope he enjoys himself. Yes, you're going to have an absolute blast, Sithy. Engineering tells me they'll be able to reclaim what's left of my pod and, of course, repair it once it runs out of gas and we are bored enough to go and get it. Moving on from that, before we even start with the topic, I'm going to stream on Twitch tonight. Also, if you'd like to support this channel and my sister, there are some squid plushies on Etsy. Everything I'm referencing is linked in the description down below. So to start, let's talk about coronavirus. And that's when the ads stopped. And not when I bleeped out, motherfucker. Because there's a bit of misinformation going around the United Kingdom, but also frustration. And I can actually empathise with that. Having only some of my work back, but under very strict conditions, and yet with many flouting the rules and having flouted the rules for months even when we were under lockdown, the country is apparently gearing itself up for a second wave around Christmas. People don't generally go outside at Christmas anyway, unless it's snowing, and where I live, because of the sea air, you don't get snow. You get dandruff and mush. Lots and lots of mush. It's just pointless. It's walking on slush puppies. I don't want to walk on slush puppies. Anyway, because of frustration but also misinformation, a number of protesters, 10,000 no less, decided to gather in front of the National Portrait Gallery in Trafalgar Square. Now these brave souls are the same people that champion the likes of David Icke. Now, if you have an opinion on David Icke, by all means let me know. I don't actually have one on him, and I'm not going to be drawn in because, to be honest, it would take far too long to research all the theories he has put out and try to explain and or debunk without myself getting yeeted off YouTube. So not going to do that. But he was in attendance of this, as was the brother of Jeremy Corbyn, Piers Corbyn. Now this 10,000 strong group of theorists united under a rally called Unite for Freedom. It started at noon in the capital, and it calls for an end to government lies and the restoration of all freedoms. When it comes to the freedoms, I actually support that. However, there is a problem, and it's where one then starts to have to draw in comparison to other illnesses, which is where this gets a bit tricky. Currently, the infection rate in the United Kingdom is on the rise. Others have pointed out that the cold is infecting more people at the moment. And you're right, it is. It is quite the inconvenience. But I do consider it for the most part a false equivalence. So to me, comparing it is a bit pointless. However, with the infection rate going up, we actually have the number of deaths, which yesterday was 1. The infection number was 1,700, but the number of deaths is going down, and it has been going down steadily, which says a lot about how we've adapted, which is a great sign, possibly. Either that or the measures in place have worked, late of course, but they worked anyway eventually, or, and this is equally possible, the secret global plot organised by Bill Gates has been thwarted by Pinky and the Brain. Do I need to roll my eyes for that one? Currently in place there are coronavirus guidelines that many establishments, cities, towns abide. You have the 1 meter plus rule. You have to wear face masks in virtually every building you go into, unless it's your own home, in which case, sneeze away. With this group of people, in a place that holds 35,000 people, so it obviously doesn't look like it's full at all, not one of them is wearing a face mask. Not one of them is practicing social distancing, and others have pointed out quite correctly that at least when Black Lives Matter, even if you agree with them or not, at least when they protested, they were in the United Kingdom practicing social distancing and wearing face masks. Now, of course, it is right to now point out at the same time, it's possible many of those were Antifa, and they are renowned for wearing masks, because they're brave. But regardless of that, it is still worth pointing out they were still adhering to the government guidelines. Those that were in attendance of this have likened the restrictions to that of child torture. Some of the demonstrators were holding signs that claimed that Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock were spreading obsessive COVID disorder, with others claiming it was a plandemic, and that face masks actually reduce immunity, which is an interesting one, because it reminded me of Nino Vitali, who refused to wear a face mask for 2 reasons. One, because of obstruction of breathing, which Thunderfoot has debunked quite well. The other being, well, it hides the face that is supposed to be an image of God. Might I now just say, as I said to my patrons last night, if we are an image of God, God is ugly. I'm just going to say that. Except for me, look at me. I'm stunning. Earlier I mentioned that David Icke was in attendance. During this event, he urged the police to stop serving the psychopaths, which is either a shot at the government for this handling of this crisis, or the people who follow it and adhere this. I went into a corner shop yesterday. It can only hold 3 people. I was in there first. It was just me and the man behind the till. I was wearing a face mask. He was not. 11 people then walked into that shop while I was still being served. Not one wore a face mask. It is incredibly frustrating for me to do something as simple as wear a face mask when others will not. More so when others are not willing to enforce it. When I was in my co-op, people who were going to the gym weren't wearing a face mask. When I went to post some parcels for Etsy that I earlier referenced, please consider supporting my sister, the woman behind the counter at the post office, when I inquired about them not wearing a face mask, said, "Give it a moment," and a PSA came on saying you must not shame customers for not wearing a face mask. Ah, sad face. It is now worth noting some people were arrested at this event. Piers Corbyn was one of them, and he was in fact fined £10,000 for breaking coronavirus laws. Now, he intends to appeal this decision. The reason this was so high is because under current health protection regulations, you can be issued a £10,000 penalty for the offence of holding a gathering of more than 30 people in an outdoor place. If he's struggling to pay the bill, it's all right. I'm sure you can ask your brother Jezza, who totally supports you. He does not. The final thing I want to address about the protesting is that some are very much against mandatory vaccinations. Now, I am not a huge fan of mandatory vaccinations. I am, however, a fan of vaccinations. It's great to know that I can have these and they help me not get sick as much as I used to. I think I endured 4 cases of the measles and 3 cases of chickenpox. Or was it the other way round? Doesn't really matter. I endured this, and it was agony. Genuinely, it was agony. Do you know why? Take a wild guess, everyone. Yeah, that's why. Mandating vaccines has happened in this country many times. BCG, meningitis, they have been going on for a long time. People say, but it infringes upon my rights to freely choose to be vaccinated. You are right, which is why this is such a tricky one to talk about. Others also believe that with the vaccination idea, if one is created and it be mandated, that we will all be implanted with chips, ID chips of some kind. I think I speak for everyone then when I say perhaps we should arrest Bill Gates and stick him in jail. I wonder how many times I had to use my sarcasm sign for this video. It might be a personal best. With what I've discussed today, I am very much interested to know what you think. So please do let me know in the comments down below. If I don't see you tonight on Twitch, I hope you'll have a fantastic Monday and thank you all for listening.